We're doing about this week. It's lying mode. There's a poll there. I don't know how it's showing up on the actual live stream. That QR code up there is my PayPal. I'm gonna go on YouTube side and have a look.
In prison, and ye came unto me, and shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungered and fed thee, or thirsty and gave thee drink? When saw we thee in prison and came unto thee? And the King shall answer,
I'll be there in a minute. I hope you're having a good day, a nice Sunday.
You're shameful. You need to grow up. Or get born again or something. Because you got a problem. You've got a problem. Warren McGrew, young guy, the idol killer, theological buffoon, disgusting and vile. Crawl under a rock and never come back out.
James said I'm dangerous, disgusting and wild.
Warren McGrew.
And called me a cult leader, reprehensible and vile. A theological buffoon who needs born again. But thanks for the kind words, hope we can still be friends. I'm not here to flatter, not here for peace. I break the golden calves you polish every week. And I'm done with your system built on fear and control. Your gospel's a prison, Christ came to make us whole.
He's Joseph Smith, but smarter. I mean, this guy could start a cult. That's how cults get started. There is not a scintilla of honesty in what Warren McGrew said. Look,
Oh, yeah.
Warren, you keep going down this road. In no longer than 15 years, you will not be claiming any kind of Christian faith at all. He's not a stupid man, so he's just a massively dishonest one. How deranged. Absolute foolishness. I've never heard anything more stupid in my life.
That's it, I'm a heretic, a Pelagian deceit.
You're a Pelagian. You're a heretic. No.
So I can't know the truth still, I'm made to believe. Refuse to answer questions, said he'd teach me off the air.
I have a Master's of Divinity from the Calvinist Seminary.
He's got a master's degree, it's knowledge he will lend.
Tell you what, you want to have a serious Bible study about it sometime?
Thanks for the kind words, hope we can still be friends.
Obviously, he spends most of his time sitting around trying to come up with the most outrageous things.
Now some in the comments just parrot what they've heard. Repent, you false teacher, you twist the holy word. You echo James and Matt like they're apostles sent to cleanse. Well, thanks for the kind words, hope we can still be friends.
I have respect for James on some things. Like, I know some people find that shocking.
I love you, man. I forgive you, sir.
You're a Pelagian.
I still love you and forgive you, even though you're bearing false witness. Let's go on.
People say, well, we need to have niceness in our conversation. You can listen to that and then tell me I need to be that way? Okay, well, seems only goes one direction, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, hello and welcome to Idol Killer, a ministry dedicated to destroying sacred cows for the cause of Christ, to introducing you to the holy and living God of Scripture. I'm your host, Warren McGrew, and tonight we're going to have a fun show. We're going to have a real fun show. First, before I bring on our guests, plural guests, I have a couple quick housekeeping things to do here. One, I want to say thank you to Glenn for helping me get this amazing signed copy of the Potter's Freedom by two of my favorite theologians, Dr. James White and Leighton Flowers. Yeah, that's awesome. And you know what else he got me? Copy of the Potter's Promise by Leighton, also autographed by both guys. So those are going back here, so you guys can just sit and drool. But I wanted to say thank you for getting that for me. I think that's pretty stinking cool. I got to figure out if there's a way to frame it and just hang it on the wall back there. Second bit, right? A lot of people are upset. That I'm bringing on one of my... Actually, they're probably going to be upset that I'm bringing on both my guests. Let's be honest. They're probably upset that I'm on here. Had several Calvinists on for discussions, many of which were civil, and we sought common ground. That can be done. Like Gavin Ortland is a great example. I disagree with Gavin on his Calvinism, but I like Gavin. He's a good dude. And now, for people in this discussion, just remember, James also has a standing. I want discussion, hopefully remain civil and kind and exemplify the fruits of the Spirit and Christ-like behavior. But it's okay sometimes when sparks fly. That's what happens when iron sharpens iron. It's okay to have disagreement. And I think we've had guests on that have demonstrated what respectful disagreement looks like. And we've had guests on that have given us examples on what we shouldn't do. And I think both can edify us as we seek to exemplify Christ. Now, having said all of the necessary...
I'm just going to make that wait for a minute because I'm doing something. It might be taking a while to upload or something. I've got a minute spare. I'm going to tag a bunch of Calvitards with this. The reason I'm listening to this is because I'm interested in the dynamics of it. One of my crew is sort of borderline Eastern Orthodox. Dynamic omniscience. I don't think he's attached to the label to himself, other than his and Chris Fisher, who's open theist. We're going to discuss Calvinism. I'm going to tag some poisonous Calvinists on here. They're not going to come over, of course. He's an Augustinian. Anglican. And really, he's saying he's a Calvinist, but now he's attached an extra label, really, of Anglicanism. Particularly poisonous individual, in my view. If you don't like my view, so what? I don't know if anybody else has subscribed. Did notice a live stream, a video that I think it's Mac and Cheese did on I'd only just started to do that. Curious. Although he has been doing it for a period of time a couple of months ago, he stopped, I think. Keeps changing his channel name. I don't know why. It's probably none of my business. And I'm not particularly oh right. Oh, there it is. Is it? Oh, non-buying. Yeah, I won't be playing any of Isaac's crap. According to Isaac, or what is it? Nobody can do logic anymore. Yeah. And he's reading stuff to leaders. I wonder if he actually thinks he's a leader. unbelievably stupid. I mean, it's just, oh, what? Oh, I can't find this crap. Oh, yeah. No one can reason anymore. Lol. Oh, dear. Is that really true, Isaac? Nobody can reason anymore, apart from you, of course, and Smokey, and the other BASTARDS in that crew over there. Nobody can reason anymore. Give over. Really? I'm going to put a link to this Gubbins here. Apologetic One. J. Plod Smackdown featuring Tucker the Baptist. I mean, I don't go around saying people are definitely going to hell. Never have. I do have doubts about whether certain people are actually saved or not. But I'm entitled to that opinion at least. I'm not making any Cartesian claims about whether somebody's going to hell or not. You can if you want, I don't. I'll tell you why. The Great White Throne judgment has not convened yet. Yeah.
Sorry, disclaimers. I want to bring on our first guest. This is the gentleman himself, Jacob Handsome. Jacob, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to have you on. I appreciate you giving us your time. For the audience at home, if you don't know Jacob, I'm going to give you a quick bio here. He's a husband. He's married to his college sweetheart, Erica. He's a father of 4 rambunctious kiddos. I got you beat by 1. Nice. He's a Latter-day Saint, and he's a business owner who, when not managing his business or teaching seminary or taking his kids to their various activities, which I'm sure there's a lot, he runs a YouTube channel called Thoughtful Faith, and his YouTube channel focuses on worldview apologetics, contrasting the LDS perspective with everything from atheism to Islam, and hopefully Calvinism as well. His content aims at strengthening intellectually curious believers as they engage with questions of belief, doctrine, and life. So that's a little bit about you, sir. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to introduce our next guest here real quickly. Viewers of the show, longtime viewers, will know him as the infamous Christopher Fisher. And Chris, you got to promise not to say or do anything that'll get us banned or demonetized tonight.
Okay, so, no banning, no demonetization. I got it.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know too much about Mormoninity, and so I know you have some restrictions in what you can drink, and so I don't want to be offensive. Is it okay if I'm drinking this water?
Yeah, that's all good. That's all good. Yeah.
You got to watch Chris, man. You got to watch Chris. He's going to spice it up on us.
It's all good.
So Jacob, how in the world did this debate come about? Give us a little bit of insight on what led to this. And for people that aren't aware, you recently debated Dr. James White, which is why I played the intro that I did. But you debated James White on the proposition, is the God of Calvinism morally reprehensible? And spoiler alert, just for anybody that's watching, yes, he is. But how did you manage this debate and convince him to take on that topic?
So it's actually funny. I first was reached out by a pastor in Utah by the name of Jason Wallace. He emailed me. He's the guy who moderated the debate. And he said, hey, we got Dr. White coming. We'd like to do a debate. Would you like to do a debate with Dr. White? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. It just depends on the topic. And so I threw out some topic ideas. I actually have it here in front of me. I have, would a just God send people to hell? Is the Bible inerrant? Are there constraints on God? How are we saved? Is the God of Calvinism morally abhorrent? The Bible is not a monotheistic text. What is the church? And Protestants don't believe in a church. So I gave him all of those options.
Ooh.
And the response back was, let's do the God of Calvinism is morally abhorrent. They picked.
I would kill to have your spot in that conversation.
I know.
I'm so jealous.
That was the one of all of them that I was like, oh, if he picks that one, that'd be awesome. But I thought he's not going to pick this. So I gave a bunch of other options. But Jason replies back and he says, and I have the emails right here. It says, I spoke with James. He's interested in the God of Calvinism is morally abhorrent. And I was like, sweet, like, let's do it. Now we went back and forth a little bit about, some of the details when it was going to be, all that. Mm-hmm. And then he eventually CCs in James on the email because Dr. White was talking about that we had emails back and forth and all this. There was literally one email. Well, two. The other one was Dr. White saying like, hey, everybody, I've been traveling. Like, it all looks good to me. Like, that's basically the only email that I got from Dr. White. But Jason, to both of us, laid out, okay, this is the format, the how many minutes each one, yada, yada. And then he says this, the focus will be on the stated question, which was, is the God of Calvinism morally abhorrent? But then he says, but in responding, Dr. White will be free to compare the morality of the God of Calvinism with the God of Mormonism. That was the entire extent of the great controversy of, you agreed to this, and I literally just responded back. I said, sounds good to me. I'm looking forward to the debate. And my whole thing was like, that's awesome. Like, he's going to spend this whole debate attacking Mormonism instead of defending Calvinism. Like, what a dumb move. Like, this is going to be great.
Really, really dumb.
Yeah,
exactly. I was genuinely shocked in the debate because he kind of telegraphed that I'm not going to talk about the question. And then I knew immediately what strategy to use. I just said, well, I'll just use the argument that everyone uses against Calvinism. And like, I'll have 97% of Christians on board with me. So that was my approach. That was my strategy. And he was really, really upset that I went that route.
Yeah. It's wild that his strategy, because it leaves him open to this problem, right? If I come at you and I go, Jacob, you're a bad dude, and you go, yeah, but you are too. Chris watching this may be convinced we're both wrong, right? Because I'm not defending the allegation that I'm not a bad dude. So James's entire strategy was to ignore the criticism against his position and try and bring you down with him. But it didn't seem like he was really concerned with defending the claims and allegations against him. So it was a horrific strategic move on his part because, you're bringing all of these arguments to bear, and his most of his defense was just, well, if you read my book, it's like, well, we're having a debate now. Can you distill it for me? Can you defend your position? Would you mind? I know you agreed to this debate. Could you participate in it? Maybe
somebody. I think one of my favorite comments that anyone made on the debate was, "I'm really glad he didn't give us any spoilers for the book." Because he would. He just say, "You haven't read my book," and I'd be like, "Well, I said to him, like, I have the author right here. Like, that's why we're doing this. Like, I would like to hear." Yet, actually, what's funny is I had read enough of the book to know what his responses were.
Yeah.
And I was hoping he would give them because I find them to be so weak and so not compelling. But it's just give your responses. I don't think anyone who watches this is going to be convinced by them except for your own people. And I knew in this debate strategy, he wanted to turn this into a referendum on Mormonism by doing this. He says, look, I'm going to turn this into a Mormon versus Christian debate. Okay. That's his strategy. And I'm like, no. The debate question is Calvinism. And so I'm not going to argue. I'm going to take the parts that Latter-day Saints have in common with other Christians, like the basic idea that God, loves everybody, like that one.
Doesn't decree child abuse from all eternity and ensure that it obtains meticulously so. It's like, just basic Christianity. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm quoting C.S. Lewis, right? Yeah. And he's scoffing.
Well-known Mormon, by the way.
Exactly.
Mormon. Yeah.
And so what I did is, and in debate, you should be able to know how to argue different positions.
Yes.
And so I just figured I can win this debate just with a very simple argument. And I laid it out. I said, premise 1, God loves all people. Premise 2, the God of Calvinism doesn't love all people. Therefore, the God of Calvinism isn't the true God. And I was like, there's no Mormonism required in that.
So,
I mean, for the sake of debate, you could have just said, I'm sorry. I was going to say, for the sake of debate, you could just say, look, for tonight's debate, I'm not here to defend Mormonism. Let's go ahead and concede every argument James White has against it just for the sake of debate. And James, can you defend the proposition tonight? Let's just say that I agree with you that you've convinced me.
That was essentially, if you watch my opening statement, that was essentially the end of my opening statement.
Yeah.
And I did it intentionally. I did that. I essentially said, I'm not arguing as a Latter-day Saint. And so that'll keep us on topic. And that just that must have just for him been like, I don't know what to do now. That was my whole plan.
So my evaluation, I posted the comments on one of these Facebook pages. It's like, how many debates can I lose in a row in my dying years? Quote marks, James White probably. And people are like, why on earth would James White take this debate? And I said, because he's looking for a debate win. And so who's easy to beat up on? Mormons. Why would he take a topic if the God of Calvinism is abhorrent? Well, because he's debating a Mormon. And he could turn it into a strategic win by just making little digs at Mormonism throughout his opening and throughout his rebuttals, and score points with his followers that will turn into some sort of bludgeoning. And so he was expecting in his mind to be an easy layup because of the Mormon angle to this, but it just didn't play out that way. And I do think you should have played in more into that angle, like when he was cross-examining you on questions about Latter-day Saints. You could have just said, I concede whatever position that you want me to hold on this. It's fine. It's irrelevant for the debate. So whatever position you want me to have on that, I have. Something like that. And that would just shut down every single one of his questions, because now he's monologuing, and you let him monologue way too much in the cross-examination.
To a certain extent, I wanted him to monologue, because I was like, what are you talking about? And then I just looked at me like, that isn't what I believe. So like, and now I will say this. So I'm not afraid to debate the Mormon topic. In fact, I explicitly in the debate told him, like, right now, Dr. White, I'm offering you to do another debate where we'll talk about, can Mormonism ground morality or something like that, right? Like I think that's a very
something that has a proposition that's directly tied to that issue rather than Calvinism.
Exactly. Like I'm fine. I would debate that. Like I think that's a very fascinating debate to have. I'd be very interested in it. But like I don't think James is ever going to talk to me ever again. I mean,
that's okay. That's okay. That's a win.
So
you don't have to put up with that insufferable man.
So anyway, it's a for any of the disagreements that Latter-day Saints have, and I've tried to do this with other people, I want people to also understand that we also have points of agreement. Mm-hmm. I actually have learned a lot by examining, even for this debate. I mean, Warren, I watched some of your videos in preparation for this debate.
Oh, thank you.
And as I researched,
can you say that again in case this gets back to James White?
Yes.
Stick the knife in and twist it a little bit. You're welcome, James.
Yes, I did reference some of the things that Warren and others have looked. I mean, you guys know how Sam Shamoon just like rips on us and attacks me personally and all that kind of stuff. I watched his stuff on James White, and he had a lot of very good points. I am wanting to find truth wherever I can find it. And the reality is that in many of the debates that Latter-day Saints have, or me or others, like we can benefit from looking at where there's alignment with one another and seeing the way that we approach it. Because, again, we don't have to agree on all things, but there are certain points like Calvinism that we can all lock arms and be like, well, that's bad. Let's say no to that.
Here's the thing. I just posted on the screen just a moment ago. Somebody's like, you're teaming up with a Mormon? Hold on a second. I'm coming by your house. It's on fire, and your child is trapped in the upstairs bedroom. Now, I can go in and try and rescue her alone, or I could bring Jacob with me. Would you dare to criticize me for trying to go in there and save her and team up with Jacob because he's a Mormon? You'd be like, no, obviously, put your differences aside. and focus on the greater issue here and save my daughter. And in this case, we're talking about Christianity is under attack by the claims that James White is defending, and that is that God from all eternity, I mean, under James's view, evil originated with God. It's an attribute that he's expressing into creation because it's a manifestation of the eternal divine decree. There was never a moment when God didn't desire and effectually decree it with specificity. So I'm looking at the God of the Bible and I'm going, that's not what I'm seeing here with Calvinism presenting it. And so if Jacob wants to go in there and expose that, then I'm like, hey, let's go save that little girl from the burning building together. Put aside our differences. Let's go do that. It doesn't mean we're not going to come out and after we, get some health, maybe some oxygen from the smoke. I can drag this analogy out, by the way, that we might not sit around and then disagree and maybe, work some of that out.
And I'm here for it.
But yeah. And you've always got an open invitation to come on here and we can work through that.
Okay. So did you ever see the clip where Bob Enyart and James White were going to debate, and James White did a video before the debate? And he uses this fire rescue analogy. A guy's walking by a house and there's a baby in the crib and the house is burning. Is it immoral for that guy to not save the baby? And then he's like, what if that baby was Hitler?
I saw that clip.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh, it's so funny. Oh,
little baby Hitler.
Yeah, God predestined the baby to be Hitler and then burned the baby in the fire. And so it's like justified. It's like to set baby Hitler on fire. I don't know.
Now, one of the things that I've pressed James on over the years is his views on infant damnation, aka Ballgate. I know that was kind of touched on in the debate. I like your analogy with the girls that were drowning. There's just one. If I was going to nitpick the analogy, the gentleman who comes in and saves some of them would also be the very one who came in and dropped them in the water.
Someone else pointed it out to me before the debate, but I wanted to keep the analogy somewhat simple. But it's actually worse. Like when you actually get into Calvinism, you go, "Holy cow! This is the worst possible." Like I genuinely believe like this is the worst possible thing I could think of.
No, it's so reprehensible. It's not even a question. The only way to rescue them from the charge that it's morally reprehensible is to redefine what good is such that it no longer exists. It's like what C.S. Lewis had said. I think you'd made mention of that as well.
Yeah, in the debate, one of the questions that I wanted to push was like, James, when you say God is good, what are you saying?
Yeah.
And the reality is that if you actually look into it philosophically, it's a meaningless claim to say God is good.
Yep.
You're just saying God is God. If I say, for example, if I say that vanilla ice cream is vanilla, I haven't said anything about the ice cream.
No.
If I say vanilla ice cream is sweet, okay, now I've actually described something about that ice cream, something meaningful about it, right? But when you define in the way that he does that God is love, God is goodness, and then it's sort of like, well, it's really bad because he's talking about his conception of God, and there's no way for us to check if that conception is actually good, because he has defined his conception as goodness itself. And so it's just a word game you're playing. You're saying,
I mean, you're getting into semantics where you're saying God is good, evil is good, horrific evils and manifest wickedness. And what happens is James's position collapses where you don't have God redeeming the injustice against Joseph, but you have him eternally and effectually decreeing the lust of Potiphar's wife. You have him eternally and effectually decreeing, all of this originated in the mind of God, the murderous rage and envy of his brothers. Like you have God inventing the slave trade. Like all of these evils go back to God. It becomes a part of his very character. It's something that he's expressing into creation. And if you go, well, what is good? And this is something I think Chris actually had something he was going to press on, was like going into more of like a biblical definition. I don't know if I'm catching you off guard here, Chris.
Yeah, I'll pull up the reference. So, one of my criticisms is a very easy layup when he asks you to define love. Instead of going to a theologian, it's defined for us in 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. And then you could run those attributes against Calvinism. Love suffers long. Does God suffer? God is impassible in Calvinism. Is kind? Oh, is kind meaningless? Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It's not puffed up. Everything's done to God's glory, to maximize God's glory. Does not behave rudely. Does not seek its own. Everything God does is for his maximum glory. It says love does not seek its own. It's not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. Didn't God predestine all events to ever happen? Just the most horrendous things that a little girl was just strangled in the news. It's just horrific. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. And, Calvinists and their use of all things, when James White's telling you that God does all things according to the counsel of his will. Okay. God does all things that God does after counseling. Sure. But all things he doesn't hope all things. He doesn't hope like we all become prostitutes. That doesn't make any sense. He doesn't hope we all quit our jobs and become mimes on the street. There's limits. Love never fails. And whether they're prophecies, they will fail. Whether they're tugs, they'll cease. Whether there's knowledge, it'll vanish away. All these things that he champions, prophecies and knowledge. It's like these things they're not as important as these attributes of love. And so it could have been a very easy layup if you were using the biblical definition rather than like a C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, and in that one I use the Thomas Aquinas definition. And philosophically, I think it's the most sort of airtight. I think it sort of collapses all of those, though I do think you're right. For his audience especially, it's, they're going to want to hear, okay, well, what does the Bible say about this? But that is essentially what all of those attributes entail. They entail to will the good of another. See, one of the things about, like it says that love doesn't seek its own, that idea. Like, are you kidding me? The Calvinist God, literally, that's what he's all about, is his own.
Yes. Yep.
Like, that is the essence. It's the anti-love. Everything's about me. Where the God of the Bible and the God that Aquinas talks about being loving in the sense of willing the good of the others is he wants us to have that which is highest and best. Like, that's what he wants for us. And that's why he's all loving, just like us with our children. Like, if you love your child, well, what does that mean? It means you will their good. You will the best that they can have. And so now the question does become, well, what is the best, and how is that sort of defined? And that gets into some of the moral grounding issues that came up in the debate, which everyone has to kind of deal with. But love, as I would see it, is fundamentally about a type of relationship where you both are willing the good of one another, and trying to engage in harmonious relationship with one another. And if any one of us reflect on it for 1 second, like, what is the thing that everyone values most in their life? It's the relationships that they have with others. And that's why the 2 great commandments are to love God and to love your fellow man. It's bring yourself into harmony with me and then with one another. And that is what I would say, theologically, that is what eternal life is. It's a type of relationship that we have with God and one another.
So if you carefully notice the structure of James White's opening, he sets out the case that God is the standard of good. So whatever God does by definition is good. And then his exegesis that his followers claim he was doing was giving examples in the Bible of things that apparently are bad, because his leap of logic is, look at this terrible thing that God did. And so God's standard of justice. So to explain this thing away, we have to appeal to nothing God can do is evil. They're telling on themselves. And so they actually think that these actions, these proof texts of theirs, is God doing evil and being evil rather than just executing justice, or else their argument falls apart. Because you can't, there's not a jump from God punishes the guilty to, oh, this is, we need to now justify this, and we can only justify this by grounding goodness in God's being. It's a non sequitur.
Getting back to James's handling of imputed Adamic guilt, it's like everybody's going to get what they deserve. Well, why do they deserve it? Because God made them deserve it. How does an infant deserve anything? How does an unelected infant deserve eternal torment? Well, it's because God is taking the guilt of Adam and putting on that innocent little baby. And so you go, well, why would God do that? Was he compelled to do that? Was there something within his justice that demanded that he place the guilt of one onto the innocence of another? The Bible tells us that such a thing is an abomination to the Lord. And yet his anthropology is abominable. And it's because it flows out of that morally reprehensible view of God. But and just before anybody asks, yes, James White does affirm infant damnation of the unelect infants, and he's very clear that he doesn't hold MacArthur or Todd Friel's view where they believe that all babies are saved. I've got multiple clips of that. Anybody wants to challenge me on that, watch the show. I can put those clips in. I'd be happy to do that. But the God of Calvinism is also the very one who decreed every deception, including those of supposed regenerate believers. So you have James believing that his God decreed for his followers to hold false beliefs. Who does Scripture tell us is the father of lies? By James's own standard. It's like you're in hot water here, James. You might want to redirect. You might want to pull up, red leader. You're coming in too fast. Calvinism just continues to collapse. Now, there have been some people in the side chat that said, "But guys, you're criticizing pop Calvinism. You're not criticizing my particular flavor of Reformed scholastic Calvinism." Well, Jacob, were you debating a classic Reformed scholastic, or were you debating the guy who wrote a book that you should read, by the way, Jacob?
So
I don't know why you didn't read that book.
I had a 12-year-old boy come up to me afterwards. He's a little kid that was in the congregation, and he came up to me and says, "Hey," he goes, "so you think the clay can tell the potter what to do?" And I just looked at him and I said, "Well, I don't think human beings are clay. I believe that we're human beings who have agency." And so the clay analogy, I do think it works in a certain sense in the way that it's used in Romans 9. I don't have any problem with Romans 9, which is strange. He didn't push me on Romans 9, which I was kind of expecting. But here's the thing. If you were to say that God made a pot for his own use, and he did with a pot whatever he would do, okay, now let's change the analogy to a baby. Well, God made this baby just so he could drown it in a lake, and then he made this baby to have the most blissful life ever, and not because of anything they did. He just chose to torture one of these babies forever and the other one not. You see how that, if someone was like, "Well, who are you to tell the guy with the babies what he can do with the babies?" Like, I'm sorry, you guys. Like, human beings are not clay. The other thing is that you don't realize it, that if people want to say, "Well, in Calvinism, human beings aren't robots." What's the difference between clay and a robot? If the clay is just being shaped by the potter into whatever the potter wants, well, that's what a robot is. A robot is a physical thing that gets shaped into a certain way and does exactly whatever the maker wants it to do, and that's all it can do. So the moment that you posit that human beings are different from robots is the moment that your clay analogy breaks down.
So it might be a lot easier, and so Calvinists try to pride themselves on being biblically based or something like that. It might be easier to just say, in the most famous example of the potter and clay, Jeremiah 18, God attempts to make one vessel, and he does not finish what he originally attempts to do. The clay's marred in his hand, so he has to build something else. Did God finish what God originally set out to do? They're going to have to say no if they're honest. And the whole point of the parable is it's explained for us. We don't have to guess. It's not guesswork. It says, God says, that instant I say something and that I'm going to do something, if circumstances change, I'm going to change. And the instant that I'm going to say that I'm going to bless someone, if they change, I'm not going to do what I thought to do. So he says both, I'm not going to do what I said I was going to do. I will not do what I thought I was going to do. And this is all in the context of potter clay. And so it really destroys their little analogy where God's just doing everything with us and there's nothing outside of his control and he's micromanaging everything. That's not the analogy that we see in Jeremiah 18.
Yeah, and one of the big objections, they're like, well, who are you, oh man? When a lot of the objectors are upset that God is including more people into the plan of salvation than they wanted, not excluding them. So they're actually taking on the role of the one that's being rebuked, and they're trying to force God into validating their worldview, when in fact he's rebuking that very view. He's more gracious than they wanted. His ways are higher. It's why he's long suffering. It's why he's merciful. Like our ways, we're petty. Like people cut me off on the freeway, man, throw them in the lake of fire. We're petty creatures, but God's ways are more lofty and holier and noble and good. And that's what we're to obtain to. It's, we're little image bearers and we're learning to grow and to walk into that and reflect him better. And yet often these objections are completely put on their head and flipped, and Calvinists will just come in and start hammering it without even realizing what they're doing. But no, the objector is upset that God's including more people in the plan of salvation, the Gentiles.
Correct. And you have to understand that's the entire context of Romans 9.
Yeah.
Romans 9 is a meditation on the expansion of Israel to include Gentiles, and the fact that, like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I thought we were the chosen people, right? But it's sort of like, no, and who are you to tell God that his promises aren't for more people than you thought? So anyway, there's a whole lot.
In chapter 11, the elect are the enemies of the gospel. And so I think you should have pushed back on James White a little bit with examples of people in the Bible reasoning with God, giving God advice, God taking their advice, like Abraham in Genesis 18. And there's a whole list.
There were so many. I tried to go through in my rebuttal as many as I could, the ones that I had lined up. But the reality is, like when you take a minute to really critically look at the Bible, it just decimates the Calvinist position.
Would you say, Jacob, that you felt kind of like a mosquito at a nudist colony? That there were so many choice targets to criticize Calvinism?
There were. It was ridiculous. And the thing is like, okay, I can see where the Calvinists get their proof text, and they read, if you have the biblical data, it's like, okay, you have the majority of the data that kind of gives a very particular message. Like one of the biggest ones being, we choose God. Like he wants us to choose him. He's asking us to, choose ye this day whom you'll serve, all that kind of stuff. Like the Bible is the story of like, hey, are you going to choose God or not? Mm-hmm. And then you have these like few outliers that seem to suggest something different if you read them in a particular way. And like, that's what they just hammer on. Mm-hmm. It's like, the Bible clearly teaches this. It's like, well, what about all the rest of it? And they end up having to do so much mental gymnastics to get rid of. That's why I kind of wanted him to explain what he said in The Potter's Freedom, because when you're out there like, well, it isn't about all people, it's about all kinds of people. Like, yes, James, say that. Just say that publicly. You're going to lose. So I wanted people to hear what he had to say. But what's funny is I guess maybe he just realized saying this out loud, not to the home crowd who buys my book, like isn't going to land. And so he's just like, go read the book.
So I do think it would have been kind of a kill shot against his underlying premise that God is identical to goodness. The fact that God, number one, takes suggestions from people throughout the Bible. And number two, he's very, very concerned with what the other nations think about him. That's one of Moses' arguments. He says, he's in Exodus 32, he says, if you kill us out here, what are the Egyptians going to think? And then when God's reflecting on it, he says, I changed my mind for my own name's sake. And when you come across that throughout the Bible, God cares about his PR to pagan peoples who are evil. He cares what we think about him. And so if God's this ultimate standard and he could just do everything bad, why is he taking suggestions? Why is he changing his plans because of us? And why does he care how we perceive him? And if we perceive God as evil, because that's the argument why he doesn't do things in the Bible, because he doesn't want to be perceived as evil. And so God has a standard, a different standard than James White has for what defines evil.
Yeah. Well said. You look like you were going to say something there, Jacob.
Oh, no. Let's go. Let's continue on.
Yeah, no, great. So, yeah, again, I was delighted to see that this was a debate proposition that he was willing to tackle. I was disappointed that once he got into the debate, he really didn't want to defend the position. He only wants to attack even when he's on the defense. And there is a burden once you start making claims against Calvinism. Then there's a burden on you to defend those claims. But if I came in and I said, Jacob, I don't know what brand of hat you're wearing or whatever, but like, let's say I started levying a claim against that, then you would have a burden to defend it, but I would have a burden to defend the claim that I had made, right? But if I come back in and somebody's attacking me because of my beverage choice, like I like Coke Zero or water or Gatorade, that's completely irrelevant. We're talking. I've made a claim. I'll defend the claim that I made. You have to defend against the claim that I made. But that's how debate works. And what James wanted to do was completely ignore defending it and go, so you're saying it's morally reprehensible, but don't you know you don't have a framework to criticize me? It's like, well, okay, what framework do I need? Do I need to think that evil is good and good is evil in order to criticize you? You don't have a framework to determine what is morally good and what is morally evil. And you're attacking me? Like, maybe at the end of the day, we both have a problem with our framework, but we're debating yours right now. And you don't even have a clear delineation between good and evil. And you're saying that God decrees all of these horrific evils. What do you even mean by good? It just continues to be so meaningless. And he didn't have an answer. He didn't have other than just buy his book. And you go, well, are you selling books? Or are you trying to win a debate? Are you selling books? Or are you trying to change hearts and mind? Like, I care about you, Jacob, and I disagree with you on Mormonism. And if we're going to have that conversation, I would want to try and reach you on a personal level and work with you. And, I know you feel the same way about me. So what are we here for? Is it because I'm trying to sell a book or trying to look good? Like, how much clout do you need to get into heaven? Or do you really care about the people that you're engaging or trying to change minds? But I'll say this, every time a Calvinist engages in a debate, they've already forfeited because it's not consistent with their worldview. They don't believe that you were created capable of even rightly understanding any of the truth claims he's making.
Correct.
It's so self-refuting.
It's one of the most shocking things about the whole ideology, the idea of that we don't have a choice in the matter. I have a very hard time with that entire, because you also lose all moral responsibility at that point too. Remember, so to kind of lay it out, and I've had Calvinists explain this to me, and if I'm wrong, I'm fine. Like, I'd love to hear why I'm wrong, but I can't understand it. So I make a choice. Why did I make that choice? I made that choice because of what I wanted. Okay. But what I want emerges from my nature. Okay. So I make choices based on my nature fundamentally. But then the question becomes, well, where did I get my nature? And they would say, well, you got your nature because you were born a human being through Adam. Okay. Where did Adam get his nature? And sort of there's the idea, well, he freely chose to eat of the fruit. It's like, what are you talking about? God predestined that he was going to eat of that fruit. If God predestined it and it wasn't his free choice, then again, let's just keep following the trail of causation back. Adam never would have fallen had he not eaten of the tree. So who put the tree there? And then I use the analogy of the poison cookie in the room with the little kid. Mm-hmm. If I put a poison cookie in the room with my child and I know that my child is hungry, and then my child eats of the cookie, the police are going to come and rightfully take me and put me in prison.
Oh, yeah.
Because my kid and all of his descendants now have some disease because my kid ate that cookie. Like, who's the bad guy in this equation? Right? But he just like, I reject that analogy. It's like, well, why?
You just need to say, this is not an analogy, it's a hypothetical. Can you answer hypotheticals? You need to treat him like a child.
No, it was...
Well, a totally depraved child.
I knew the thing is sometimes when he would make responses, I can just I don't have to fight back against it. It's just like, keep talking, like just keep
Yeah.
saying what you're saying. Cause there is no rational person that is going to, and the thing is I know you can't reach people that are unreachable. Like the people that are in the James White for Life camp. It's like,
I can think of an excellent
heaven
example of
help
that.
them. Like I just hope they can open their eyes and not be so blindly following this and actually self-reflect for a minute.
So you seem to have a very high opinion of like an average audience member. A lot of times in debates, you need repetition and you need to point out things that are happening. So like if James White's evading, you need to start pointing out he's evading and then reiterate every time it happens. And so then it gets into the audience's mind.
Yeah, I should have pushed harder. I should have done more observation as to what he was doing.
Now,
and that followed it up in your conclusion. Your start to your conclusion was very good because first of all, you reiterated the point of the debate, and then you started pointing out a lot of his bad actions and activities. And so I did like that type of reiteration, reminding the audience. I think just more of it could have happened throughout the debate.
For sure.
And so I know you're coming up at a hard stop. We said you're going to give me about an hour here, and I want to be respectful of your time in that hard stop. But I also there was something else that came out like right at the top of the program when you asked, I think, your first question in the cross exam. And what I want to do is I want to show on the screen just real quickly. Let's see if this will pull up here. So this actually comes from 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9. It says, "The Lord is not slow about his promise, as some count slowness, but is patient toward you, not willing for any to perish, but for all to come to repentance." And so this is the heart of God, that he is patient, that he's long suffering. This goes into our entire Christian apologetic as to why evil exists, is it's because God loves the evil perpetrator and is giving them time to repent. He's slow and long suffering, and he can redeem the mess that they make. But ultimately, if they don't, he'll judge it. But he doesn't want anybody to perish. Like that's the biblical God, as depicted from his own inspired scripture. And yet James comes in, and this is how he answered your question. And I thought this was really telling.
Question: does God want to save everyone?
No.
Okay, so wait. You said God does not want to save everyone.
If God desired to save every single person, he has the power and the ability to grant to them regeneration, faith, and draw them unto himself. It is very, very clear that God decided to demonstrate his glory in the destruction of the Amorites, the Canaanites, Babylonians, and any other numbers of people in the biblical records. So if you're simply trying to say there can only be one will in God in that sense, then obviously the scriptures contradict that.
So James's solution here is to go contrary to scripture, argue that God is duplicitous, which is in keeping with the God of Calvinism, by the way. We can demonstrate that all day and on Tuesday standing on our heads and sipping tea from a thimble. Like we can prove this easily. But he says God is duplicitous because he has multiple wills. And then he says, look at God over here after being long suffering and judging people after he's warned and endured with great long suffering and patience. Then he judges them. That must be proof he wanted them to perish all along, so we can discount 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9, because if that was really what God meant, then he would override their will and he would force them. And that's what we're and it's like, no, that's not the God of the Bible. Again, he's defending R.C. Sproul's, and pardon the language here, people. This is an adult program. He's defending R.C. Sproul's holy rape of the soul, where he believes that it's just for God to come in there and force himself on you and regenerate you and make you a believer. And so again, he's completely arguing against scripture and against the God revealed in the text. So he has his presuppositions of this demonic entity that he is then forcing into the text to the detriment of the explicit text. And this was your first cross-examining question and his answer. And so, like, boom, right out of the gate, whether he realizes it or not, he demonstrated the proposition is true. The God of Calvinism is morally reprehensible.
Correct. And one thing too is he talks about judgment. One of the things I kept this quote in the debate from Clement of Alexandria. He says, "But revolt is in our own power, just as obedience is in our own power. Wherefore voluntary actions are judged. What is involuntary is not a matter for judgment." Think about that for a minute.
Yep.
If I cannot choose otherwise than I am predestined to choose, how am I worthy of any judgment at all? It's like judging a robot. It's like judging, and people say, well, robot, it's a bad analogy. Here's the thing. A robot, people, and I've had people actually tell me this, that, well, yeah, the robot will choose between it through the algorithm that it has. You know, it will choose what its response is going to be. But we all know that's not actual choice. An actual choice requires the ability to do otherwise. Because just because it appears as though there are two options and then the algorithm will dictate which of those paths the robot will take. Remember, the algorithm is controlling the show.
Yeah.
Okay. The programming, your nature, if you are programmed by your nature and you can't go contrary to your nature, that is a robot. A robot has a nature that is given to it through the algorithms that are programmed into its circuitry. Okay.
And I mean, according to his view, God is the one over there programming these evil intentions, these evil desires, and then he judges them for doing the very thing that he decreed.
Yeah.
And
why don't we judge it?
Over here, you know, it says that he decreed this, but they completely ignore the context. They completely ignore it. I will say this for the Calvinist view: Scripture and church history are nothing more than a useful vehicle by which they can cram their presuppositions and defend them. It's not that they actually believe the text. It's what they believe the text can accomplish for them as a form of subterfuge. Now, I say that not on a lay level. I don't think every Calvinist holds that view. But men like James White, it's very evident that this is the approach that he's taking.
Well, here's the analogy. A lion. Some lions will kill their cubs, like male lions will. Well, why don't we go and lock those lions in like lion jail? Well, because they're only acting according to the nature that they're given. Again, only actions which you freely choose are able to be judged, right? I mean, that the thing is when I went, one of the things as I prepared for this debate, and I didn't know this beforehand, was that there is nothing in the early church fathers that support this sort of a Calvinist worldview. Nobody had it in the early church. And It isn't until, I believe, Augustine that you begin to get hints at it as they sort of reason about things. Yeah, no, Augustine
marks a distinct departure from historic free will Christianity. Up until Augustine, that was the view of the church, and in the East, it still is, and certain Anabaptist traditions and non-denominational traditions, it still is. But for Westernized Roman Catholicism and Reformed Protestants that came out of that, they carry that fatalistic view, and it ends up collapsing, Jacob, because they believe that the decree is eternal. It could not be otherwise. And so what they don't realize that they're doing is they're affirming necessitarianism, where sin and evil are necessary for God to be God. Jacob Hansen becomes a necessary being under the Calvinistic worldview in most formulations.
Yeah.
So that they go about their determinism.
So Jacob Hansen, I wrote a book on the Hellenization of Christianity. You should just read it. I did, though. It's called The Hellenization of Christianity. That just goes through pre-Christian concepts.
And plug your channel real quick, too, Chris, while you're on here.
Oh, yeah, God is open. Podcast God is open. Website God is open. Facebook page God is open. So God is open. But in my book, I go through how Hellenization, Platonization, corrupted and incorporated itself into the church. But before you go, I did want to get your reaction to the fact that the debate title was, is God and Calvinism abhorrent? And then you told an analogy where the guy was acting abhorrently, horrified the audience. And then you proceeded to argue that in Calvinism, God is abhorrent. And James White treated that as if it was like the worst thing in the world. He was stunned. He was sideswiped or whatever. He did not see this coming, that you would actually argue that God and Calvinism is abhorrent.
Yeah, I have to say, I've been a little shocked. Honestly, the whole thing has been very shocking to me. One, I'm surprised he took the route that he took. Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't bring better arguments, because I think there are literally better arguments that he could have brought. Mm-hmm. I was shocked in the way he responded afterwards, being as upset as he was. I've been shocked at the amount of allegations he's made about me personally, that I'm dishonest, and it's just like, he just makes these claims. I've always wondered, like, well, can you give me some specifics? I feel like I was in the debate where I was like, well, what specifically did I get wrong when I'm quoting you in the book here? Like, he's like, oh, you're like dishonest quotes. It's like, look, you have a giant run-on sentence, and I shorten it down to give the exact point. And I have it. I'll invite him right now. He hasn't done it since, and I'm down for it. Show me the quote where I maybe shortened it, or, got rid of a few of the and this and that, and just, got to the conclusion, right? Because in a debate, I have limited time, that meaningfully changed what you said. Like, the stuff that I quoted are like very basic Calvinist ideas, like that God, some people's purpose is to burn in hell forever. That is a basic Calvinist doctrine. And when I just read it out of your book, you're like, oh, it's so dishonest. Like, well, maybe I removed a little bit of the fluff, but like, that was the point of the sentence. Just go read it.
You said it bluntly, and you didn't sell it. You didn't say it and affirmed it. You said it and rejected it. Therefore, you're dishonest for saying the same things we believe. You just didn't accept them. Therefore, you're dishonest.
Well, and it's this idea of when I told people this. You know what I'm going to do in this debate? I'm just going to tell people what Calvinism is. Like, I don't have to do anything but that. Just give it to them straight. Tell them what it is. And anyone who isn't a lunatic will look at that and go, what? Like, and so that's what I did. And so I was very interested. In fact, I talked with a Calvinist and a former Calvinist before the debate to ask them, am I off on this? Like, I may not be. And they're like, yeah, maybe I wouldn't say it that way, but that's essentially what we believe. And it's like, all right.
So the misquote that you had during the debate, the guy was angry not because he didn't believe the quote that you attributed to him, but you said it in such a way that it makes him feel uncaring towards Jews in the Holocaust. That was their.
Yeah, because I watched the clip that you paraphrased there, and I'm like,
well, he said
substantively,
and so it was a paraphrase, or it was. He affirmed these things.
Yeah, the only, and so I didn't realize this before the debate. It was floating around this: my God predestined Anne Frank to be Jewish, to die in the concentration camps, and to burn in hell. Okay, now I thought that was a verbatim quote. It wasn't. It was a paraphrase of the answers he gave in a cross-examination, where he was asked, "Did your God predestine Anne Frank to be Jewish?" He goes, "Yes." Did your God predestine Anne Frank to die in the camps? He goes, yes. Did your God predestine Anne Frank to go to hell? And he said, yes. So it is true. And I apologized that it wasn't a verbatim quote. But if you go look it up, you can see it's the exact same in substance.
Yeah, same intent, same principle.
And so that interaction was with Kwaku L. And Kwaku L's been on my program before. He's a nice guy. It was funny, his interaction with James White and Jeff Durbin, where he just mocks and makes fun of him. It's great.
Yeah, that was pretty legendary from back in the day. That was James has been taking L's for a lot longer than people realize.
Well, my thing is this. Okay, I get all these videos. Like one of my friends showed, like Jeff Durbin. He was like, "Do we have any recorded videos of James White talking one-on-one with like a very knowledgeable Latter-day Saint?" Because it seems that all he does is he goes in ambushes, literally 18-year-old kids who just graduated high school and are going on a mission as a volunteer for the church. And he pops out and is like, hey, like, let me ask you some hard questions. And then they're like, okay, I'll try and answer them. And it's like, you are a professional theologian who has spent your entire life dedicated to apologetics, and you are literally talking to some 18-year-old kid who misses his mother and like went to a 6-week course in our MTC. Just so you guys know, our missionaries are not theologians. What our missionaries are is they're like tour guides. They go and they find people who are interested in learning, and they bring them in. They're like, here, let's give you the tour. We want you to pray about this and see if it's, the right fit for you. But like, if a person wants theology and they want to like debate theology, well, we have people that are theologians. Like, why don't you engage with them? I mean, you guys, if I went to your average person who goes to your guys' church, just your average 18-year-old, and started to, I could, and I got a camera and I began to really grill them, I could make them look like an utter moron.
Oh,
okay. Easily. You guys, by the way, you guys could do that too. to ours. So like the idea of literally Jeff Durbin having videos with like 1 million views on it of him taking to task some kid from Layton, Utah, who just graduated high school like 6 months before, it should be an embarrassment to him. I've tried to engage with people. If you know what I engage with, I engage with porn. I've engaged with Dr. James White. Okay? I've been trying to engage with people at a higher level because I don't want to score cheap points. And so I'm a little, one of my biggest things is, you guys know how old Kwaku was when they brought him in?
He was what, like 18, 19?
Yeah, he was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine having two full-grown, all their life been doing this. Now, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with Kwaku as a public figure. Like, that's fine. He was out talking things. Like, that's fine. I'm less opposed to that. But I have to just recognize that especially for Jeff Durbin, like, I've never seen him engage with a serious Latter-day Saint on a serious topic in a meaningful way. He just hasn't done it.
I mean, I have seen Jeff Durbin argue with an atheist that God ordained and decreed gang grapes of wrath, and that's out on the internet. And you're like, what an amazing theodicy that you present here, that God knows it because he decreed it. It's like, that's brutal. That's so, you made God the author of gang grape,
Well, the thing that they do, that is kind of ridiculous, is they talk about God's sovereignty.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's all about God's sovereignty.
But they don't even believe sovereign. They don't believe that. They're using another term underneath that.
Regardless, let's just grant this for them. Here's the thing. Kim Jong-un is sovereign. Your sovereignty and your power doesn't speak to your goodness.
Yes.
Remember, if you're going to talk about God's goodness and love, you have to demonstrate that. Just keeping on saying, well, he's sovereign, so he can drown a baby if he wants to. It's like, I'm not questioning your notion of God in sovereignty. I'm questioning your notion of God in his nature of goodness.
Yes, that's a
You're
good point.
thinking that's for you. That's for their followers. The Calvinist who's listening, they have to understand that if they're accepting what you say, rejecting what James White says, they're also rejecting that sovereignty. I think that's more of an in-group than an out-group statement.
Correct. Because they want to say that if God is truly sovereign, then he can just do whatever he wants, and therefore it's good. So if he wants to drown a baby, then that's good. But that is just, as you pointed out, Warren, that is to misunderstand what the word goodness even means. Like, when we say God is good, we mean something by it. Yeah. And it's like, if you want to just basically show all the behavior of God being that of devil and then call him God, it's like, you're just playing games. There's no way for me to demonstrate unless you provide a coherent definition of goodness. And then we show that it applies to the being that you call God. But they don't do that. It's the presuppositionist language game where it's like they quite literally are not saying anything. It is meaningless when they say that God is good. They don't, it doesn't mean anything.
No,
there's no meaning.
It becomes worthless. It's what C.S. Lewis said. If his black is our white and our white is his black, then we know not what he is, and we might as well just say that we've relegated him to being a devil.
Correct.
And that was his criticism of Calvinism. So now I know you're coming up at a hard stop here. There are a couple things that I wanted to ask. What has been the fallout so far? I know it's still, a week out. What has been the fallout? And then what do you have coming up that you want to promote? And I want to give you an opportunity to do that.
So fallout. The fallout has basically just been him freaking out online while everyone kind of laughs about it.
Yeah, there's been a lot
to be honest, Latter-day Saints are like, oh my gosh, that was a bloodbath. And most people have just been saying, I didn't realize how horrible Calvinism was until I heard someone just sort of own all the things that you said and was like, well, he's sovereign. So like, I have a brother who's an atheist, and he watched the debate, and he was like, I can't believe he's just owning all the things that you're saying. Like, this is crazy. So the fallout is basic. I mean, for me, I don't regret anything in the debate. I think I pretty much said what I meant to say. And if there's some point that I'm off, I did apologize for, not having a verbatim quote. Mm-hmm. I am the kind of guy that if there is a legitimate mistake, like I will literally, and I have done this in the past, like publicly correct the record to like, hey, I got this wrong. Mm-hmm. In my debate with Joe Heschmeyer, there was a certain quote again that I didn't realize it was a paraphrase of a quote. It wasn't the actual quote. Similar sort of things happen. I do have to be careful about that. But if I make a mistake, I'll do that. But yeah, I've just been sort of like, nothing really. So as far as upcoming things, I'm going on with Allie Beth Stuckey next week.
Wait a minute. You're telling me Allie Beth is going to be teaming up with a Mormon?
We're going to be having a conversation talking about the different ways that we view God and salvation. So,
okay.
Should be an interesting conversation. And then I also have I'm actually sorry to plug this. I don't know if you guys want this to be too widely plugged, but I did a docu-series.
I can edit it out and post. It's fine.
That's all right. You can edit it out. I have a docu-series that I've been making on the life of Joseph Smith. And there are a lot of people who will talk about Joseph Smith. A lot of people have strong opinions, but very few have actually understand his story sort of from cradle to grave. They've never actually kind of seen the context of everything. And so I put together a docu-series on my channel that goes through that. And it's specifically designed not to be like, here's our flowery version of the history. It's just like, I'm just going to give it to you straight. All the content. I'm just going to tell you what happened. And you can, I rely on anti-Mormon sources. I'm quoting Vogel and these other guys that are totally against Joseph Smith. And then I'm quoting like Richard Bushman, who's a member of the church, who probably wrote the definitive biography on him. Recently, Turner did one. I mean, this is sort of like, I'm conglomerating like the story from the best, most reputable sources, and then letting people decide like, what do you think of the story when it's all said and done? So I just am finishing that.
I look forward to engaging and critiquing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to people doing that. Yeah. I'm putting it out there. I've almost finished it. I've done all the episodes except for one that I need to finish, which is the final chapter, the 10th episode. And I'm very interested in people giving me feedback on what may be wrong historically, because I'm very interested in making sure that this is historically accurate. Overall, though, even the critics, even my critics that have seen it, like they haven't really given me much. Like I kind of just
putting this on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on my channel, Thoughtful Faith. If you go on there, look at my playlists. I have it up there. I'm going to be putting on my website, but that'll probably go up probably later this month. There'll be a little tab for it on the history, and you can just go through and watch all the episodes. And if you are someone who's critical of Latter-day Saints, I think you owe it to yourself to make sure that you understand the full context of the story so that you can be more effective when you engage with us.
Yeah, the last thing that I think we want is low-tier, weak, or misguided apologetics, regardless of what camp you're in. Like, you want to be able to know the strongest arguments against your position, and if you're a man of integrity, you want to know the honest answers and how to, respond to those. And so, obviously, like I said at the top of the program, we've had a lot of people come in and they're like, they're teaming up. It's like, guys, the debate was, is Calvinism, what is it? Is Calvinism
morally abhorrent?
Morally abhorrent. And we agree, yes. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean Jacob's here endorsing everything that I or Chris believe, or that we're endorsing everything Jacob believes. Good grief.
Audience, Jacob endorses everything I write.
What's that?
Although I do lean towards open theism, just so you guys know.
Yeah. I just told the audience, Warren, that Jacob endorses everything I say and write.
Well, James White is going to now use that and be like, see, it's so funny. Jacob, hey man, you seem like a really good dude. I enjoyed watching the debate and criticism of Calvinism. On this, we're aligned. Calvinism is indeed morally abhorrent. But anything else? Any other parting words? Anything you'd like to leave with us?
No, but before we think this is too much of a bro fest, I'm willing to talk to you guys about our differences and discuss some of those, debate some of those. I'm open to those kind of things. I've enjoyed this, and appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you guys.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you so much. And yeah, maybe I can watch your documentary and take some notes, and maybe we can bloody our knuckles or something to where people don't think that this is all just kumbaya. But I really do appreciate you coming on. Again, thought it was an interesting debate. I linked it in the description to this video. So for Calvinists and non-Calvinists, Mormons and non-Mormons, you can watch that. You can judge for yourself, how you think Jacob did, how you think James White did. Chris, thank you for coming on, buddy. Thanks for bringing your questions. And
the chat wants us to keep going. They want Jacob to leave and us to keep talking.
Oh, is that what they're
you guys, if you guys want to keep going, I'm fine with that. And you guys can talk all sorts of crap about me when I'm off air.
No, you're good, man. You're good. But hey, Jacob, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate you.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, again, don't be a stranger. Hit us up. We'll set up a time and we'll talk.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, seems like a nice guy.
He does seem very nice. And
I think Mormons, here's what I'll say though, generally, not an endorsement of Mormonism, calm down, chat, but Mormons generally are good, moral, kind people, at least on a surface level interaction that I've had with them.
They will push your car for a mile to get to the gas station.
Yes.
They will do that.
Yes.
And so I do have a list of notes. We didn't get to everything I wanted to talk about, but I did want to talk about the Calvinist crash out. And so they have all gone into cope mode. And so I've seen a big splattering of different cope comments. And let's see, I wrote some of them down. Okay, so one of them is that, they claim Jacob was emotional. Well, it looked to me that James White was very heated and emotional himself, but the whole debate was on if God is abhorrent. And so it's actually one of the debates where it's okay to appeal to emotions if that's what abhorrent means. It's
you're gonna have emotional feelings, but it's bad if you have emotions. And what's so funny is this is an example of the Calvinists exposing themselves and not realizing it, because they suppress the truth and unrighteousness. The thumbprint of God written on their heart tells them that damning infants for the sin of another is morally unjust. And they feel bad. And they get mad that they feel bad. And they're mad at you for reminding them and making them feel bad. So they suppress the truth and unrighteousness, and they blame you for appealing to emotional arguments.
Yeah, so I was listening to Jacob's opening while I'm jogging the track. I was on a 6-mile jog, probably 3 mile. I'll exaggerate for the story, 6. But I get to the point.
12-mile run, we get it.
Yeah, 12-mile run. I get to the point where he's telling that story, and my blood starts to boil. It's that's what kind of visceral effect that it had on me. It's and he didn't have to make up a story. There was plenty of real life stories in the same vein where these things happen. One girl is describing pushing her childhood friend into the pool just to see what happened and watching her drown and things like that. It's just, it's so abhorrent. And so I think there was a good place for this in the debate. James White was very mad that he used this analogy, and James White hand-waved it. And he hand-waved it by saying, I've dealt with these analogies in my book. He really didn't want to actually talk about what specifically in the analogy is incorrect or misleading, or some sort of salvaging way where this analogy doesn't represent what he actually believes about God. They just didn't want to do that. And so this should have actually been pressed a little bit more by Jacob in the debate. And
now, one of the things we're being told in the side chat here is Mormons aren't Christian. Did you know that?
Well, it depends how you define.
Did you freeze? Are you freezing? Is this one of those clever tricks that you use?
You froze a little bit on my end. I don't know if I froze on your end. but it depends if Christian is defined as anyone who follows the life and teachings of Jesus. Maybe they're Christian, or Christianity is defined by Paul, where Jesus is a major aspect in salvation, atonement, theology. That could be considered Christian. And so it just depends whether or not Mormons fall under biblical Yahweh worshipers is a different question. But I think the broad definition of Christian might apply, but I think people use that as a substitute for this person's saved.
Mm. The other thing too is there's a difference too between having historic, like Orthodox lower O, Christology, soteriology, anthropology, and in that regard, I think their doctrine of God, there's some parallels there between that and theosis, but not 1-to-1, and it's extremely problematic. So do they strive to follow the teachings of Christ? Generally. Are they generally moral people? Most of the time they're nice, sweet people. Are they historically, doctrinally Christian Orthodox? No. No.
Yeah. So
what I want to do is I want to lead people into a closer, deeper relationship with Christ. I want them to have a stronger understanding of historic Christianity. That's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And what you don't do is bringing somebody on who already knows you disagree with them and just beating them over the head and telling them how evil and awful they are, particularly when that's not the topic. So I'm a bridge builder. I know people don't believe that, but my goal here is to reach people where they are and introduce them into the holy and living God. So
yeah, when I had Quakuel on, I started by saying we first need to disclaim each other as heretics.
Yeah. Yes.
We'll start with that, so to get that off the table.
Yeah.
But I did want to go through some more of my list about coping.
Yeah,
the Calvinist, the copes.
I love the Calvinist cope, bro. Bring it on. It's abundant. Okay.
So
did you see James crash out that we were even having this conversation?
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah. And so the next cope I saw is James White 1, because Jacob was being evasive about questions about Mormonism. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know that this was a referendum on Mormonism. And then that's and so if he's evasive about off-topic questions, then James White wins.
Here's the thing: as a non-Calvinist watching, Jacob comes in and goes, "Mormonism's bad. Here's why." James goes, Jacob says, "Calvinism is bad. Here's why." James White responds, "But Mormonism is bad." So as a non-Calvinist, I go, "Yeah, you're both right." Okay.
Okay. So,
but the debate is over Calvinism, and James blew it and did not defend Calvinism.
James White won because Jacob misrepresented Calvinism, but there's never any explanation of how.
No, there never is. There never is.
Okay. How about James White won because he's playing 4D chess. The reason that we didn't see him as winning is because we are unregenerate. But the true regenerate people could see this 4D chess. James White really won.
Yeah, he's got that divine, gnosis and enlightenment. And if you did too, then you would really recognize how brilliant James is. But you need God to show that to you. That's what that is.
Yeah, and the last one on my list is James White won because he did exegesis. Like, I didn't know this was like a exegesis debate.
So basically, did James White win by saying, yes, God is morally reprehensible, but it's not morally reprehensible because he's powerful and power makes right, might makes right? Or did he go, there's no such thing by which to judge in any of these views, because by Mormonism you have an exalted man, but by Calvinism you don't even have a clear definition of what good is. So it's like none of James's defenses worked here.
No,
at best he just shows us that they're both wrong, but he didn't show us how he's right.
And in the comments said James was just poisoning the well, and oh man, it was the worst. Like every time he's like, "Oh, Mormon this, Mormon this, Mormon this." Like, what are you doing? And then the one thing that Jacob says in response and in the cross examination where he says science, and then White's like, that's a low blow, and he's all huffy and puffy. It's like, what have you been doing this whole debate? Just saying the word science is not a low bro. It might be like a Redditor move that it's like kind of cringy because, oh, the science, TM science, hashtag I love the science. And like it's cringy, but it's not a low blow.
Yeah, no, it's silly. It, I would love to see more debates on this topic from leading Calvinists, but somehow I suspect we won't. At least not from, informed debaters.
If they're smart, they would never take this debate.
No, I was blown away that he took it.
Man, yeah, it was when I heard the debate topic, like, okay, this is going to be a gold mine because he's got nothing. He's got nothing. And so he does use the same arguments that Maslick works or that Maslick does in his debate with Will Duffy on the same topic. Is God
James
good?
White is cribbing off of Matt Slick's cheat sheet. Are you serious? That's desperation.
Yeah, well. So this is just normal Calvinism.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, that debate, I think Will Duffy mishandled a little bit because he started engaging in like exegesis type things, like, oh, did Jesus try to make people not believe, or did he not? It's like that's not the subject of the debate. Not the subject. Is the God of Calvinism morally abhorrent? And Jacob, one criticism I have of his is he kind of hijacks the topic of the debate as well. He changes it into God is good and loving in the Bible, rather than the God of Calvinism morally abhorrent. But it might play well to the audience because the audience is primarily Christians, and it might paint Calvinism in a more negative light. And so it might have actually hijacking the debate topic in that way might have played better to the audience, along with like his ending statement where he starts talking about God being loving and wanting all man to come to salvation, and how that's just not the God of Calvinism. So I can understand why he did it, but that wasn't the topic of the debate.
Yeah, I think maybe for this debate, it might have made sense to say, look, in order for my Calvinist listeners to understand the criticism that I'm bringing and hopefully get through the bias, henceforward, instead of saying Calvinism, let's just pretend that I'm saying Hinduism or Shintoism or Islam or some other religion. And if that religion taught the things that I'm about to tell you, would you condemn them for teaching that? That might have been an interesting move. But I think they're so defensive. It's like, oh, Calvinism is the gospel. Calvinism is Christianity. So Christianity and the gospel can't be morally reprehensible or repugnant. It's like, well, no, but Calvinism is.
Yeah, that probably exhausts the extra things I wanted to talk about. So if we want to wrap up.
Man, I appreciate you coming on and investing your time into this and spending time with me on this Friday. I think after this, I'm going to go get some dinner and maybe play some Crimson Desert or something, or hang out with me.
Is that game any good?
Yes.
I've been seeing some good things about it.
It's very fun. It's not story driven. Huh?
Enemies don't respawn. You can clear out entire deserts.
No, they're bringing that back with a patch. So now some of the big bosses are going to come back and respawn, so you can try it again. Yeah. And then once you clear out an area, they'll respawn so that you can keep coming back. But the thing that I love about it is the depth. Like, I got it pretty early on, and all of the criticism that I was hearing, like, if I had to rate how accurate it was maybe like 10%. Like, the controls are a little clunky. I mean, I'm not going to lie. You got to hit control, and then you reach up and hit F3 if you're playing on a keyboard to get food while you're blocked. That's kind of hard. I have to let go of my mouse to feed, and then, or you have to be like on a piano. But that's relatively minor. The game is actually really, really, really good. So yeah, my recommendation as a gamer, I'm going to give Crimson Desert as a sandbox solid 9.5.
I'll have to get it and try it out.
Absolutely.
I do like open world things.
It's a lot of fun.
Grindy games.
Well, I see even Fire King down here. See, we got a lot of gamers. We got a lot of gamers here at Idol Killer. We need to start Idol Killer gaming. But he said,
I've been brushing up on Tarkov lately, and that I probably should be doing more productive things. But
I've not played Tarkov, but I thought about getting the duck version.
The duck version.
Yeah, they recreated it with ducks. It's like 8-bit looking.
Mm-hmm.
You need to look it up on Steam. It actually looks really fun.
Sounds good. Alrighty, well, I'll let you go. But thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chris, again for tuning in. Thanks for hearing our last-minute rambles here on video games. Thanks to Jacob for joining us. Thanks for Dr. White for taking on such an indefensible position and making Calvinism just readily apparent, as reprehensible as it is. Thanks to our audience for tuning in, both Mormon and non-Mormon alike. And until next time, guys, we'll catch you around. Thanks so much.
All right.
Putting Christ has to do, and it is not a sort of special exercise for the top class. It is the whole of Christianity. Christianity offers nothing else at all. C.S. Lewis.
That's the end of that. Oh, it's only 3 o'clock. Oh. I'm going to have a listen to this. This guy doesn't like Tom, does he? I tagged him anyway. I reposted it on my channel and tagged him. I doubt he'll be interested. Wouldn't be surprised, you know. Hey, I wonder, Isaac, are you going to do something about this with your holiness? I'm not having a poke at you, I'm just saying. You don't mind attacking or exposing, you would say, the activities of the pod team. Well, this is mac and cheese, isn't it? Are you going to reprimand him for naughty things? Hey. Oh. I mean, I like Tucker. I do. I find him quite funny. I'm not keen on saying, oh, somebody's definitely going to drop into hell, this, that, and the other. That's not my... Oh, it's not on screen, is it? Hey. So, Isaac, we're expecting... Well, I don't think anybody's expecting anything from you, really. I certainly aren't. I use the word expecting lightly. Hellfire and brimstone. But what he's saying regarding the pod team, I haven't read this closely because the writing on these thumbnails is a bit small. Anyway, that's not very nice. You wouldn't want to meet Jack in a dark alley because he's not massively, he's not obese, he's not fat. He's got massive muscles, I think, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. Not that it matters. It's not proof of anything, just because you're muscular. These people are ridiculing Dudley, or Doodley, or whatever. Dr. Doolittle. I'm sure he will get recommendations of superness from Smokey, the guy who's done these. I don't know who that's supposed to be. There you go. Don't like Tom. Oh, well, I mean, what could you do? Anyway, should I put a link to this? It's on the community post. Yeah, I'll put a link in. And then Isaac will know where to go and to offer rebukes and tellings off, exposing naughtiness. Even though he says, people can't reason anymore. And this isn't an attack on you, Isaac. I mean, not that I'm worried about it. You know, I mean, I mean, attacked by some of you people on YouTube is about the equivalent of somebody throwing a cotton wool ball at me. Not because I'm oblivious to correction or contradiction or somebody pointing out an error or a mistake of reasoning or whatever. I mean, I'm not sure I was going to... Should I say this? I get a bit sick to death of hearing people going on and on and on about whether people are saved or not. And it's great, you know, talking about salvation. It's a wonderful gift. It's a wonderful thing. Salvation. It's a gift, a free gift. I'm not a free gracer, by the way. I'm not a conditionalist. I'm just a King James Bible-believing Christian. Whether you like it or not, frankly, I really don't care. Not worried. I know who I believe, and it probably isn't you. I didn't realise that it'd done so much. Or not that much. Yeah. Oh, well. There you go. Yeah, I'll go to my channel. I'll put a link to my channel. Because if you're watching this, you can, well, you can find it anyway. Just click on the thingy. Oh, let's just make sure it's still on screen. I don't know if anybody's watching or not. I'm not really. New Testament uses where pisture is contrasted with seeing or knowing. Epistemic pure lexical resources, ancient or modern, that list believe as the primary sense. Counter evidence is ignored, not refuted. Yeah. John Michaels won't listen to counter evidence. Oh dear. Now there's a logical architecture, number 11 there, LA. Non sequitur, causal leap, overreach, hidden premises, well, philosophical foundations, hidden premises, humans require belief. This is a philosophical argument about doxastic voluntarism, not a linguistic one. The speaker then uses this to force a non-epistemic voluntarism. Doxastic voluntarism. Yeah, well, interesting. Anyway, have a look at that channel when I went before. I noticed I got a couple more viewers. I tagged them anyway, the pod team, one or two others. Not because I want to cause anything. They probably know about it anyway. I mean, I'm not going around rumour mongering. I think the only point I'm making, actually, and I'm not really, I don't want to reference Isaac because he's not theologically competent. He thinks he is, he's not. But I do wonder, you know, apologies for the word, but I do wonder if he's actually going to reprimand these naughty people, or this person here. Maybe he helped him out with it. I doubt it. Can't see him being asked for any assistance. I really can't. Yeah, you can't make these thumbnails bigger. Yeah, well, there you go. Oh, well. Anyway. Feel free to comment. You don't worry, you won't lose your salvation. Oh, somebody has commented. Have they? Oh. No, they haven't. Oh. There, who's this? Oh, keeping up. Oh, Fleagrace, Frank. Hello, Frank. I didn't realise you'd commented. Hold on a minute. Do you want to come in and chat for 5 minutes, Frank? You can if you want. Frank? You can if you want. Have you got a spanner there, Frank? I can't tell. I don't think it's a case of Jack Smack or Tucker or anything or anybody wanting people to go to hell. I would hesitate to say that somebody's definitely going to hell. Oh, he's getting ready to go to church. Well, it's only 5 minutes, Frank, so up to you. Yeah, what on though? I don't mind live streaming later. We could talk a little bit about Brian Denlinger, but I don't want to spend too much time on him. He doesn't care what anybody says about him anyway. I don't know what you would think. I mean, I don't want to mention him again. No thanks. No one can reason anymore. LOL. Lol, 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 lol. That seems to be his only proof of anything, really. Put some laughing emojis, and there you go. He's proved it. Oh, that's why you turned up. I tagged you. Yeah. That's why you turned up. Yeah. Oh yeah, open topics stream. Yeah. Okay. How many hours time? In other words, in how many hours? So it's 3:20 here. So I can say to myself, oh, well, you know, if Frank's not busy in 2 hours, I can set up a stream for 5:20. We could have a discussion. I don't know if I'm going to let anybody else in. Oh, Stephen Black. Hello. Oh, yes, I'm going to give you a spanner, Steve. Yeah, do you want to make a comment so that I can see that you've got your spanner? I hope you're doing well, Steve, with you and your wife, and you and family are doing okay. Steve? Oh, there you are. You've got a spanner. Yeah. Frank. Oh, you could set a stream as well. Yes, that's right. You could. Oh, right. Okay, Frank. If you're not sure what time you'll get home. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I could pop in. I wonder if Deborah Gill will be there. That would be interesting. I haven't spoken to Deborah in 2 or 3 years now. Yeah. I'll see what's going on, Frank. I'm not trying to set conditions on you and what you do with your channel. But if certain people come into the studio, I'm not going to be listening to them or talking to them. And obviously, yeah, I can pop in. I'll see you later, Frank. hopefully my being there isn't going to cause trouble for you. I might have a cup of tea now.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
How come that comment is staying on there? Well, it isn't a case of me not wanting anybody in your channel. It's absolutely up to you. All I'm saying is, if certain people come in, I'll probably leave, because I want to be. I don't want to be causing arguments for you with other people that don't appreciate my company. I'll go in and I'll be reasonable, and then if any horribleness starts, which I'm not going to provoke, then I'll probably just leave or something, you know. I'm sick of contention and arguments and resentment and all that kind of thing. And obviously in life, very difficult to avoid. You know, things like that do happen. But anyway, I'll come over, Frank, and we'll have a chat about various stuff. What's gone on in the last year or two, you know. And apparently we're not capable of having a conversation because, as Isaac has stated, no one can reason anymore. LOL. Lol, 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 lol. And there you go. We could discuss Calvinism as well. Well, I put it this way. I don't hate the guy. I just don't want to talk to Isaac. Hopefully he's not hearing me saying that, because I don't want to be awful. I just think it's a waste of time. Generally having a vocal conversation with him, because he can't stop talking. And I don't think he knows what he's talking about most of the time. I don't know what you think of that one, Frank, but it's unlikely anyway that you'd let him in, actually. So maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it, but there you go. Yeah, I don't know about desperation. I know what you mean. It was only I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, if things have been reconciled, if he, I'm assuming, has realised that he either got it wrong or he got his facts wrong, which is the same thing, really. Or he doesn't believe all that anymore, or he was just being provocative and angry and like making all those accusations. And he's realised that he's wrong, and he's, reconciled, made up, brought it in, hugs all round, it's all sorted. Well, fine. What am I gonna? I've got nothing to complain about. It doesn't affect me. I'm not bothered by it. I wonder though what would happen if he got annoyed with Smokey again. Would he all of a sudden start believing all that stuff again? And in fact, does he actually still believe that thing, those things about Smokey that he said months ago? Does he still believe it? I don't know. Smokey is just a bastard, that's all. He's not using mind tricks. Very manipulative. I wouldn't know how to manipulate anybody. I wouldn't want to. Wouldn't want to learn how to do so. I really wouldn't. And I'm not for Christian leaders. Okay, you can read from a book online, fine, Does he actually think he's a Christian leader? He's explaining to Christian leaders how Christian leaders should behave, what they should be doing. Whose book is he reading from? Is he the author of it? Does he think he's a leader of men in the Lord? I don't know. No one can reason anymore. I mean, seriously. Columbus Bible Church is alive. I don't know if you're interested. David Reed. Is it David Reed? Well, it's peculiar, isn't it? I mean, these are questions I'm asking, though I haven't had the opportunity, and I'm not going to make a point of going over and asking, but it does, the whole situation does gender certain questions. Like, I would ask of Smokey, well, you have said that Isaac is a lost cause. Please tell me, if you would, what made you change your mind? Why isn't he a lost cause anymore? Well, in my view, the answer is quite simple. He has utility now. He can use Isaac. I mean, why? Oh, through. I mean, that raises other questions. Doesn't it really? No one can reason anymore. So he was a lost cause, according to Smokey. Right? Jesus Christ can save lost causes. There's no such thing as lost cause anyway. So according to Smokey, Isaac was evil at that time. Evil, degenerate, all sorts of names. Now, all of a sudden, all of that has changed. Oh dear. What are the reasons? What's changed? Have the facts changed in your view? Has the situation changed? Has the state of affairs that then was changed? Is it a different state of affairs now? And I am wondering if Isaac is going to attack that other guy for being rude about the pod. Yeah, it honestly blows your mind, blah, blah, Isaac, on your community tab, the first post. It doesn't take much to do that. Really, does it? Really? Anyway. Yeah, I mean, the whole situation, lots of questions. The trouble is with asking questions, you'd have to believe the answer you're getting. Oh, yeah. You'd have to believe the actual person giving the answer. So, anyway, I'll see you later, Frank. I'm going to end the stream now. I've had a little whinge, so I'm sure I'll be in a better mood when I come over to yours. I hope I'll be able to live stream it to my channel. Yeah, I'll come over. I'm not going to engage in any boisterous arguments, though. Right, I'm going to end the stream here. I'm going to make a cup of tea, English tea. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, talk later. Right. By the way, Isaac, if you do listen later, I'm not having a poke at you. I'm just throwing out some questions there that are on me. Well, not plaguing me. I'm not sat here desperately fumbling about with my fingers, twiddling my thumbs, desperately waiting for answers and explanations. Nobody has to explain themselves to me. I'm just saying that the whole situation that's been going on in the last, I would say, month or so, does raise certain questions. And they don't necessarily need to be answered. The answers to them would illustrate more hypocrisy, probably. Anyway, I'm going now. Bye-bye. I'm going to play a bit of music because I like the bit of music that I've got. Media. Oh, my speaker's gone off again, look.
Sorry. Line in mode.
Right. Here we go. Get this one. Anyway, later. Yeah, I'll be over there. I will be over there, Steve.
Bye.